My name is Trent Sutton, and I'm the director of URSA. I've been in this role now for the URSA director anyway for 6 years, and I've been involved with URSA about a year and a half before that as the co-director. And then with me today is Aaron Kirchner, and Aaron is the URSA coordinator. And so if you're ever interested in getting involved with URSA, we're the 2 points of contact that you would reach out to. And what I want to do today is talk a bit about what it does take to get involved with URSA and ways to do that. And so I'm going to share a PowerPoint. Like I said, this is recorded and it'll go on our website. And so let me get this started here. Excellent. Okay, so what I want to do is talk about getting started in undergraduate research and scholarly activity. And there's a couple things I wanted to talk about here. And one of those is what actually is research and creative activity or scholarly activity or creative scholarship. All those words are rather synonymous, at least as how we define them here at UAF, because that can get kind of confusing. I think most folks kind of understand research, scientific method, hypothesis testing, that kind of thing. And that works really well for the STEM fields. But when you get to, say, College of Liberal Arts or School of Ed or College of Business and Security Management, that's not research in the traditional sense in a lot of ways. And that's where the creative activity can come in. So I'll talk a bit about that. So define that and hopefully clarify that a little bit. Talk about how to get started and a couple things you need to do and think about before you can get started in a project of some sort. And then I'll talk about some of the opportunities that we have with URSA, both in terms of funding and otherwise. And like I said, ask any questions you have along the way. So I'll go ahead and roll through here. We'll get started. So what is research and creative activity? So the definition we use in URSA is that we define research and creative activity as the process of developing new knowledge or creative products to answer questions or provide solutions through active, inclusive participation and engaged mentorship in one's discipline or through interdisciplinary collaboration. So I want to sort of point out a couple things. Creating new knowledge, right? So you think about, the scientific method, right? You have a question, you develop a hypothesis, you go and you do an experiment or collect some field data. You look at those data, you interpret them, and ideally it's something new. You learn something about the world, right? Some process, some organism, whatever it might be. But like I said, that applies really well to STEM fields, right? Science, technology, engineering, math. It doesn't apply so well to non-STEM fields like liberal arts and ed and business, for example. And so that's where those creative products can come in. And that is, it kind of opens the door to anything that you might do. It might be novel, it might not be novel, but anything that you might do is technically a creative product. That could be a performing arts, that could be something in the fine arts, it could be ceramics, it could be drawing, it could be art, painting, it could be writing, it could be some type of looking at how students might respond to teaching methods. Of course, that could be spun in a scientific way. But all of those are examples. Anything that would be in creating new knowledge or creating a new product falls under our purview of something that we would support. So basically what that means is anything you might do, for the most part, would be considered research and or creative activity. And if you're ever in any doubt of what that might mean, you could always ask us and we'll tell you and say, yeah, that might not be. But in most cases, it usually is. And so that really opens the door for anything that a student might want to do is something that, again, we would support. Has to be something that's require active participation. So something you're going to actively do, right? You're going to go out there and you're going to, do this study and collect these data, or you're going to create something or build something or do something. Like I said, those are all active. It's inclusive, so inclusive of you and your mentor and maybe others in some cases, because we have a lot of individual projects, but we also have group projects, and you can be involved in either one of those, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. There's engaged mentorship involved. So one of the requirements of any project is you have to have a mentor. And I'll talk about what a mentor is here in a little bit. And the project is typically in the discipline of the student. So whatever your major might be, I would say probably 90% of the projects that we end up supporting is something tied to the student's major. his or her major. It doesn't have to be. You can do something altogether different. We have had students in STEM fields do non-STEM projects, and students in non-STEM fields do STEM projects. So there's nothing that says that your project must be in your major. I just want to be clear about that. But in most cases, because that's what your interest is, that's what students tend to do. They can also be interdisciplinary projects. So it might involve, say, different disciplines sort of melding together. And that's where a lot of these group projects come in. And so there's lots of opportunities here. And I guess what I wanted to really say about this sort of defining research and creative activity, it's the sky's the limit. It can be just about anything you want it to be. And so I really encourage you to think sort of broadly about that as you're sort of thinking about what you might want to do. Are there any questions at this point in terms of what is research and or creative activity? Some other things that come up when we're talking about what is research creativity is the time frame that you might be involved. You can conduct projects that last a number of different durations, but a typical project that we support lasts a semester, right? You get a fall project award. That's something you're going to complete during the fall semester, or a spring project award, or a summer project award. It doesn't mean the project is restricted to that time period. You can actually do something longer than that. We have students that might conduct projects over a year time frame, but the part that we support is usually one semester or a minimum of one semester. And there's different ways, maybe you're writing the proposal one semester and the research is the next semester. So again, it spans an entire academic year, or a summer, summer plus, a fall or spring semester. And then there's some kind of a final product. There are different types of final products you might produce. And again, it's really project dependent. But one of the products that we require is part of our process is involvement in Research and Creative Activity Day, which is an event that we have, and I'll talk a bit about this a little later. The event that we have usually the first week of April during the spring semester, which is a celebration of undergraduate research and creative activity. And you have to give either a poster presentation, or you have your creative, some kind of a creative display or whatever you might have worked on display for other students, faculty, and staff to come and talk to you about. And it's actually a fun event that we do, like I said, every year. But I'll come back to that here in a little bit. One of the questions that comes up quite a bit that students have asked is why should I do this? Why should I conduct undergraduate research? Why should I be involved in creative activity, creative scholarship? What are some of the benefits to me? And there's a number of things that come out of this that I think are really important. One is that you're usually doing something that's very specific, so you become a specialist in that area. Again, it might be related to your major. It may not be related to your major, but it's something that you are very knowledgeable about as a result. So you have some very specialized knowledge or specialized skill sets that you develop. One of the things I hear from students quite a bit, and I think this is perhaps one of the most important aspects that come out of any URSA related or any undergraduate research project for that matter, is that the student develops self-confidence, right? I hear from students a lot saying, I don't know if I can do undergraduate research. I don't know if I could actually do some kind of a creative project. Yes, you can. And one of the things that comes out of actually developing and doing that project and being involved in it, interpreting the information and coming up with a final product, is the student develops confidence. They recognize, hey, I could actually do that. I've had a lot of help along the way from a mentor, but they develop that self-confidence, and that's really important. Especially if you're considering going on to, say, graduate school, or maybe your professional school, whatever your future endeavors might be. So it builds that self-confidence piece. Certainly helps you make connections. You're going to work very closely with at least one mentor, if not more mentors. Maybe you're working as part of a lab or a studio where there's other researchers or collaborators working. Maybe there's agencies involved. And so you have that networking piece that's really essential. And we all hear about, sometimes it's who you know, not what you know, and those connections can be really important. Again, when you're thinking about what are you going to do after you graduate from EOF, what type of career or job opportunities might you take advantage of? It's going to give you an opportunity to present your research and or creative display, creative outcome. And so here you're kind of working on your presentation skills. That's oral communication, that's written communication, and everybody kind of can use some experience in that. Ideally, you're doing something that you're really excited about, so it should be fun. and is actually for a lot of students is maybe the funnest part of their academic career here at UAF. Um, Maybe you're going to earn some money or some credits as a result of this. So you're paying yourself a stipend. So we support funded research, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. You can pay for yourself, and so you can pay yourself a stipend. You can pay for some tuition, so you get some credits. You pay for the project costs as well. And so again, it's directly towards your academic degree. You learn what you like and you learn what you don't like. That's, I think, something that I've heard students say, well, I learned I didn't want to do that, so it wasn't very useful. Actually, that is useful. You learn, you're figuring out what you're kind of think about kind of like a funnel that's really kind of wide, and you're kind of narrowing it down. So you're going to focus more on the things you want to do, that you like to do, and not so much on the things you don't like to do. And you kind of learn that through this process. And maybe something you thought you would really enjoy, you don't. And so you know that you don't want to go in that direction in your future. And so again, you're kind of figuring it out as you go. And then finally, it's an opportunity to grow and develop within a research group. You're part of a group, right? So you've got a mentor, maybe you're working with graduate students or some staff members, and there's other researchers, graduate and undergraduates, as part of that group. And again, you're developing, again, as part of that networking piece I talked about with making connections, kind of tying all this together. So there's a lot of benefits that you get out of being an undergraduate researcher or being involved in some kind of creative scholarship, which is one of the reasons why I encourage students to do this. It's a great opportunity. It looks great on your CV or your resume when you graduate from here, and you're developing a lot of skills along the way that you're gonna use after you've left left UAF, but also as you get into your career field, it'll help you define the direction you're going to go. So again, I said it's not something you're required to do. You don't have to do an undergraduate research or creative scholarship project, but I highly, highly encourage you to do so. And so hopefully you take me up on that opportunity, and usually in retrospect to look back and say, yeah, I did kind of get those different experiences out of this, and it was definitely what I thought it was going to be. Any questions at this point? All right. So getting started, that's a sort of a preamble to kind of set the stage for getting started. And I tell all students the same thing. There are two things you need to do to be involved in undergraduate research and or creative scholarship or scholarly activity. And that's an idea and that's a mentor. The idea is something that you can get to a couple of different ways. It's usually something that you're interested in. And I'll talk about how you can kind of hone that. The mentor might be an area that you maybe aren't so clear about, like who would be a mentor for your project. And maybe that's somebody that's evident, like an instructor or an advisor, but maybe that's not quite so clear because you're working in some area or want to work in some area that's completely new. But at minimum, you need an idea and you need a mentor. And that's where we can kind of help you with that. The idea can come from a lot of different areas. And I just threw a couple of them up there because this is what I hear from students in terms of where they get the ideas for their projects. Because I always ask the question, so why are you interested in this? Where did this come from? And so an idea can be something that you're just interested in. So maybe it's it might be an animal, it might be a process, it might be um, some type of activity, something that you're interested in doing and you want to learn more about, or you want to develop something out of it. So you have a lot of inherent interest in that. Maybe it's a hobby. So maybe it's something you actually do and you can actually develop a project idea that you want to explore based on that. Maybe it's something you do for your work, whether that's here at the university or somewhere else. Maybe it's a club activity. Again, if you're in one of the ASUAF clubs, for example, it may be something you get out of a class, right? So you're sitting in class and you're listening to your instructor lecture, or there's a class discussion, whatever it might be. You read some papers, you watch some videos, whatever it might be. Something piqued your interest, some information or some idea or some question popped in there. I thought, well, you know what? It'd be really kind of cool if I could explore that. That is one of the more common ways I hear students come up with as far as where the ideas that they want to explore come from. Something they've picked up on a class. It may be a particular skill you want to develop. There's some technique you want to learn in a laboratory, for example, or if you're you want to go into one of the art studios and develop some, metalsmithing or ceramics or whatever it might be. And so there's something you want to specifically get out of that. Maybe you go to our Research and Creative Activity Day event, and I would encourage all of you, if even if you decide to pursue something or not, come to that event in the spring, and you'll see a whole host of different projects in just about every single discipline here at UAF, and that might give you an idea for something that you might want to do. And then finally, you can come and talk to us. You can come see me. You can see Aaron or both of us, and we can help you kind of hone an idea. Maybe you just have a very sort of broad sense, and maybe you just say, well, my major is geology, or my major is psychology, or whatever it might be, and we can start asking you some questions, and based on those questions, that might kind of help you kind of hone an idea that then you can pursue. But the first thing you got to have is you got to have an idea. So something you want to do that you're going to want to pursue for some type of a project. So you have an idea. Maybe it's pretty well defined. Maybe it's not. We're trying to get you to that point in time. But that's where the mentor comes in. And a mentor can be at UAF. It can be a faculty member. It can be a staff member. It can be a graduate student. It can be a postdoc. The only person that can't mentor an undergraduate student in a project is another undergraduate student. And it has to be somebody at UAF. You may have somebody from another university or an agency or some organization that might be a part of the project as a collaborator. Maybe they serve as kind of a secondary mentor, but your primary mentor has to be somebody at UAF. Again, faculty, staff, postdoc, graduate student. So where do you find a mentor from? Again, it might be one of your instructors, right? Somebody from one of your classes. They actually might approach you after the class and say, hey, I noticed you're really engaged in that class discussion we had today. You seem really interested in that question that we were talking about. I'm actually exploring this currently in my research area or in my studio. Would you be willing to come and participate in that? That has happened on more than one occasion here at UAF. So again, it might be, again, that scenario. It could be through communications you might have, again, with your advisor, with other individuals here on campus. Maybe you decided, I'm interested in such and such process or such and such an organism. I want to do research on marmots. I want to do research on salmon, whatever it might be. And you decide, I'm going to just gotta Google UAF and salmon research, and it brings you to a website, and you look at all the different faculty and what they might be doing. And so then you say, okay, there's these 3 or 4 individuals who are doing this type of research. I'm going to talk to them and see if they might have an opportunity for me in their lab, and develop a project based on that. So they can come in that way as well. And then another way is, again, to come and talk to Aaron and myself. And again, as long as you have an idea, we can help pair you up with a potential mentor. And so, for example, I had a one about a year ago, or a student approached me and said, hey, I'm interested in doing a project on hydrology, and I don't know who to go to. Who would you recommend? And so I made a couple of email inquiries, and found a faculty member who was looking for students to work in his lab on hydrologically oriented projects, and made that match and put the two in contact with one another. And then the student, went on to do a project related to hydrology. And so there's lots of opportunities there. But like I said, the two things you need is you need an idea, something you want to do, and you need a mentor. Someone's going to help you with that project along the way. And that's where URSA can come in, because we can help you, can figure out the idea and find a mentor. Until you have those two things, you really can't do a whole lot more than that, because you need those two pieces. So an idea, and I'm assuming that a lot of you probably have ideas, right? There's things you're interested in, tied to your major, maybe not tied to your major. Maybe you don't know who the mentor would be, or maybe you do. Maybe you've already talked to somebody and they're said, yeah, let's develop this further. But that's the general process, is coming up with an idea and then identifying a mentor. Are there any questions about either of those two things? Okay. A bit about some of the opportunities we have within URSA. So projects can be any semester. We have different types, and I'll talk about some of those types here in a few minutes. I'll show you our award schedule. But projects can be conducted in the fall, spring, or summer semesters. We have some that kind of extend. We have like mentor awards that extend across the fall and spring semester into early summer. But typically, most of our students do a fall project, a spring project, or a summer project. You can get one of those funded in any academic year. Okay? It can be at any level. So undergraduate research and creative scholarship isn't something just for seniors or isn't something just for juniors and seniors. You could do it at any point in time. You could, if you're in your first year, it's not too early to be thinking about conducting an URSA project. You might not have the idea quite there yet, but you certainly can develop that idea, and maybe it's something you pursue for the spring semester or the summer. We've had students as early as their first year get involved in undergraduate research. It could be something your second year, your third year, your fourth year, any year. Like you can do projects multiple years, different projects, and we've had students do that where they maybe their junior year they do a project and then they get it funded, and their senior year they apply for funding again and they get a funded project. Maybe it's a build on that first project. There's lots of ways to do this. So I always want students to understand that it's not something you have to wait until you're near graduating or nearly graduated before you can pursue this. You can go after it at any point in time, and I encourage you to do that and maybe do multiple projects because of the benefits you would get out of that experience. It's also available for any discipline. There's no discipline we would not support here at UAF. And I want to be really clear about this because it's one of the, I think, common misconceptions of URSA is that we only fund STEM research. That is not true at all. We fund all research projects. We do fund STEM research. We also fund non-STEM research. We funded research projects in every single college at this university and every single discipline at this university. And we're always trying to work on that. We're always trying to, there's no group that's excluded from the types of research and creative scholarship we would support. So if anybody tells you differently, that's not true. We support all types of research and or creative activity that a student would conduct here at UAF in any discipline that they're a part of. Some other things to keep in mind as far as eligibility, you have to be a degree seeking student. Now, does that mean that if you're a non-degree seeking student, we wouldn't consider you? Not necessarily. If you could make a compelling argument for why you want to pursue this particular area or line of research or creative scholarship, we certainly would. So even though we say it's degree seeking only, that's not 100% true. You do need to be enrolled for a minimum of 6 credits during the semester in which you're seeking to conduct the project, unless that's summer. Summer, we don't require students to enroll for credits, but you have to be enrolled for 6 credits the following fall semester. And that's just so that we don't have students that are graduating and then they're not going to be at UAF the following fall. You have to have a GPA of at least 2.3 or higher. And that's really, GPA plays no other role other than that. And we don't make determinations based on students' GPAs in terms of they get awards or not. But if you're having a overall GPA of less than a 2.3, my recommendation would be to focus on getting your grades squared away before you start doing something in addition to just focusing on your academics here at UAF. And so this is something to keep in mind. Like I mentioned, you need an idea and you need a mentor. And then we have a number of awards per year. And I'll talk a bit more about this here in a moment, but you need to think a bit about when you might want to pursue this research. Some projects, they can be conducted at any semester, fall, spring, or summer. Some of them are, if they're an outdoor type activity, maybe it's something you can only do in the summer, for example. So you need to kind of keep that in mind as you're thinking about what you might want to do. I mentioned there's a lot of different types of awards. The most common types of awards that students are submitting proposals for are project awards and travel awards. So project awards, what I've mostly been talking about. We have, right now we have open our spring student project award that just opened up a week and a half ago. That closes on November 6th, and then we make a determination on December 2nd. Or we'll announce the awardees on December 2nd. For those projects, an individual student can receive up to $3,000. For a group that's 2 or more, you can receive up to $6,000. That's for research that's conducted during the spring semester. So you have to be thinking about a project. That means you have to have the idea and the mentor lined up before you can submit the proposal. You can use that money to cover, again, your time, so a stipend to you, your salary. You can cover some tuition as long as that tuition is related to the project you're doing. You can have some travel if that travel is something you would need to collect some information or some samples or some data, and then you can cover any project supplies you need as a result. So anything you might need to support that research. So like I said, we have the spring project award open. Like I said, that'll close in just a couple of weeks. The summer project awards will open up in January. They'll close at the end of February, and then we'll make those determinations, or that announcement will come out towards the end of March. And then fall project awards, which is way far down the road. So that'd be for a fall project in fall of 2023. That RFP comes out in April. They're not due until June. We'll make the announcements at the end of July. So the spring, summer, fall project award, you can get one of those in any academic year. But like I said, that's the most common type of an award our students apply for. It's not the only types of awards out there. There's the Community Engaged Learning Awards, which actually that request for proposals is open right now for any community-based projects that a student might be wanting to be involved in. The student can only get up to $500 for one of those. That closes this Sunday. There's the Mentor Awards that faculty, staff, and graduate students and postdocs can apply for, which we just closed that and made those announcements just a couple of weeks ago. Again, that's where they bring students on to work on projects. We'll have another one coming up in the spring called Innovative Technology and Education. Anybody can apply for one of those for pieces of equipment or technology related to research and or education. So there are lots of opportunities for funding. And then there's also the travel awards, and these are on a rolling basis. There's no deadline for those, but if you're going to go to a meeting or a conference or a competition and you're going to give a presentation on what you did for your research, or you're going to participate in a competition. So for example, a lot of engineering students are involved in various competitions. Those competitions take place in the spring. So that might be like design, build, fly, or robotics, or it might be concrete canoe or steel bridge, or some of those different competitions. UN Arctic, there's a whole bunch of different ones that students are involved in. We would support that. And so if you're going to go to a meeting and you're going to give a presentation on research you've conducted at UAF, whether we funded it or not, doesn't matter. You can apply for funding. We'll pay for your travel to that meeting. Again, you can get up to $2,000 as an individual, $4,000 as a group. And that could cover airfare, lodging, registration costs, per diem, all those kinds of things. So I really encourage students to take advantage of these. You can get one travel award and one project award in any academic year. And so there's lots of opportunities for student funding. And just to give you some idea, and this is for last academic year. So we had a total of 21 student project awards that we funded for just under $73,000. We would have funded more if there would have been more projects. Because of the pandemic, we didn't have as many applications as we've had in the past. And so we're always looking to fund more projects than usually what we do fund. We gave out 9 mentor awards for just over $50,000, 19 ITE awards, those innovative technology and equipment awards for $79,000, and we had 2 of the community engaged learning awards for $1,000. In any given year, we're giving out depends on the year, but usually we have about $250,000 to $350,000 roughly. We haven't had a budget meeting yet this year, so I'll find out next week what our budget is. But we usually have more money than we're giving out to students, which doesn't mean it's not competitive, because it's very competitive. We don't fund necessarily all the projects that are submitted in any funding cycle. But we definitely are encouraging more students to apply, because we have a fair bit of money we can support. We can provide for support of undergraduate research and creative scholarship. So just again, I just want to point this out because we do have a nice chunk of money we can use to help support your endeavors. The last thing I want to mention, and then I'll kind of open up for questions. So hopefully you have some questions. I've mentioned this a couple of times. We have our annual Research and Creative Activity Day that takes place every year. So one of the requirements, if you're funded by an URSA project, you have to participate in this day. And sort of pre-pandemic, this was always a one-day event in person at the Wood Center. It was a big event. We'd have, usually well over 100 students participate. celebration of undergraduate research and creative scholarships, with students with poster displays and other creative displays and performing arts and all kinds of activities going on at that event. We have the presentations for a while, and then we have an award ceremony later on that afternoon where we have a Dean's Choice Award. So each college or school gives out a Dean's Choice Award and honorable mentions and other awards that we give out there as well. It's just a real fun day. And, you know, the pandemic kind of derailed things a little bit. So in 2020, we had to cancel the event because when that all happened. And then 2021 and 2022, we had virtual events. For 2023, we're planning on going back to an in-person event at the Wood Center. So even if you don't, or even if you're not involved in a project this year, maybe you're not doing your own research, I really encourage you to come to that event. It's an opportunity to, again, see what other students are doing. It's an opportunity to talk to other faculty and deans and staff members and kind of talk about research and that good way to develop some ideas, especially in your area of interest. So again, I really encourage that, and you'll get more, you hear more about this as the year goes on. We haven't really started the planning for this event yet. Well, that'll start taking place a little bit later this semester and be certainly the beginning of the spring semester. But stay tuned for that. But just wanted to make you aware that if you get funded by URSA, you will be expected to participate in this particular event. And so that's kind of the end of my presentation. Like I said, I just wanted to go give a sort of broad level overview of what it takes to be involved in URSA. You're more than welcome to contact me at any point in time. There's my email and phone number. My office is up in Arctic Health Research Building, so I'm up on West Ridge. I'm in 1W02. My background in fisheries, and so that's where I live most of the time anyway. Aaron's office, so the URSA office is 301 Bunnell. So Aaron's email and phone number is there as well. But you can pop into the URSA office, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Aaron's usually there unless there's some other reason for her not to be there, but she usually posts her hours on her door, so you can swing by and see her. And I would encourage you to do that. You can make an appointment to see her, or make an appointment to see me, or just call, or like I said, swing by. And if we're there, we're more than happy to chat with you. So I want to open this up now. First I'll give Aaron, anything you want to add to what I just said before we open up for questions?
Only thing is that, if you have an idea of something that you're interested in, that's usually enough to get started. So you don't always have to apply for the upcoming cycle if you're not ready, but as soon as you have an idea and you have an interest, feel free to stop by. I'll talk with anybody who's interested in applying for the cycle that's coming up in November, or even if you're looking to do it maybe next year sometime, and we can keep in contact throughout that whole period until you feel like you're ready to take on a project. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Any questions from anybody? Thanks, Aaron. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, you guys, thanks a lot for this seminar. I have a lot of ideas and I'm just looking for students. So I'm wondering if you have ever thought about maybe some kind of message board where faculty who have particular interests might propose some ideas, like looking for students who might also share this interest. I've got about 5 ideas that are cross-discipline, involve business and engineering, agriculture and business, IT, computer science type stuff. So just kind of putting that out there.
Yeah, so Aaron, you want to grab this one since you handle a lot of this?
Yeah, so we actually do have a spot on our website for that. If you look at the website on the far right hand side, there's actually a tab for current opportunities or opportunities at UAF. And that's where we have all of the current listings for faculty who have submitted using the link at the top of the page saying, hey, I have this project. I want to engage undergraduate students. It has all the information to contact. So there's a link at the top where you can submit everything, and then I'll post it on the website. And then for the students who are on the call, if you're interested in joining an established project that's already in motion, that's a great place to start. And that can kind of build relationships with other faculty on campus. Some of them are group projects with students. So that's always an option. And there's an opportunity for those submissions to indicate whether those mentors would be interested in being an URSA mentor for an award. So, if you're interested in doing one of those opportunities and adapting it into an award application, that opportunity is out there too, as long as your mentor's on board.
Perfect. Maybe I will add my own ideas to that, but also feature that link in my classes and talk about it a little bit so students can see there's quite a bit out there. Thank you.
Yeah, and just for the students, I'll point out as well. I've students have brought this up. They're in a discipline, or they have an early general idea. Like you might be like, I'm a sociology major. I don't know what kind of projects I can do. If you go to our website, there's a list of all of our awardees over the years, and you can look in through all those by each of the different awards. You can't do any kind of searches by degree or discipline or title or anything like that, but you can look through those and it'll give you some ideas. It's got the student and a little blurb about their project, or the mentor and a little blurb about their project. So you can see what we've done over the years, and there's a pretty lengthy list by now. You can also swing by the URSA office and you can look through funded projects. So you can't take them out of the office, but you can look through them and get a sense for what a funded project in your area might look like. So that's another opportunity, and I would encourage any student to take advantage of that, because it's very helpful, I think, to get a sense for that. Because if you're doing this for the first time, you just may not know like what opportunities are there and how to develop a project and what a proposal should look like. And if you submit a proposal and it goes through the review process and it doesn't get funded, because that does happen. We don't fund everybody. We can't. We don't have that much money. We have a lot of money, but not that much money. What I always tell students is you're going to get some feedback. So you got reviewers, they're going to give you some feedback. Take that feedback and incorporate it into your project. Work with your mentor, work with us, refine your proposal, and submit it again. Maybe this is the next semester or the next time that makes sense, depending on your schedule and what you're doing. I guarantee if you make the revisions and resubmit, your probability of being funded is going to be much greater than the first time. And we have seen many students get funded that second or maybe third time. So my piece of advice is be persistent. Don't just say, oh, I didn't get funded, I can't do undergraduate research creative activity, it's not for me. No, take that feedback, utilize something that all your professors have ever dealt with. I mean, we all submit proposals to funding sources, and I guarantee there's nobody that I know of that is 100% successful every single time. We all get rejected. We it's disappointing. I understand that. I've been there. But taking that feedback and revising and submitting something the next time around, it certainly makes it more fulfilling. So I would encourage you to not give up. Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
On the website reference for opportunities, just take for an example, there's one listed there that's ongoing for geographic information system. Do they remove those once they find the 2 students? It says seeking 2 students, just for an example. But if it's ongoing, do they? Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's current then.
Yeah, so I actually audited them this semester. So everything on there has been confirmed as something that is currently ongoing and either has a deadline in which we'll check up with them at that point to make sure that the positions are still open, or the ongoing ones are ones that have been confirmed as they're open to continued involvement by undergraduate students indefinitely. All of the mentors who have submitted positions have been asked to let me know if they fill the positions so that we can take them down. But I fully encourage you to reach out to any of them that are on there. A lot of them are new. Most of the ones with the dates were submitted in the last month and a half. So definitely reach out early. And just because the deadline isn't until the end of this academic year, don't wait to contact them. The projects are ongoing right now, and that's probably just when the funding ends or when we need to update a listing. So definitely reach out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, hearing nobody else, I can go ahead and bring this to a close. Again, I want to thank you for your time today, and hopefully this piqued your interest, and maybe maybe you don't have any questions right now, but maybe you think of something a little bit later. Don't hesitate to reach out to either myself or Aaron. We're here to help you through this process, whether again, this idea or mentor, maybe you have some more specific questions. That's great. And we'll get this posted on our website, maybe either later today or tomorrow, as soon as it gets available. And you can go back and watch it at any one point in time, and encourage your friends and colleagues to take a look at it as well. And like I said, thanks again for your time. We'll have more of these sessions. The next one we'll have is next month on mentoring. So it's maybe not something for students, more for faculty, staff, and other potential mentors. And then we'll do a repeat of all these in the spring semester as well. So we'll have more overviews on URSA more broadly. We'll have also some other ones. We'll have one on how to prepare a poster in advance of our Research and Creative Activity Day. So if you have any other, I'll throw this out there for those of you that are here. If you ever have any ideas for seminars, things you want to learn about, throw those ideas out to me, and or Aaron, and we're more than happy to entertain those. I mean, this is a new thing we're just started this year. And so we're looking for some feedback and what we might provide as far as information. So again, thanks for your time. Have a great day. And hopefully we'll see a project idea from you somewhere down the road.